Welcome back to the channel, guys, and if you've been watching some of my videos just recently, you will understand that what I'm going to talk to you about now makes 100% perfect sense. So what are we seeing in front of us is one of the gigantic stones which is found near the temple of Baalbek. If you guys don't know, this is in the Lebanon, okay, and this place is potentially the largest, most crazy, insane temple on the planet. Just to explain to you why this is a crazy place, the pregnant woman's stone, which is this one here, this block, which is exactly as any other blocks which are in the temple, as you can see here or here as well. These are some of the blocks which were put on. This block here has about 1,200 tons, okay? That is just a ridiculous huge amount. Now, scientists have tried to come up with an explanation of how this was made. Of course, the mainstream science is never willing to step back and acknowledge that they made a mistake. So with this one, the same thing happens. Back in 2012, they tried to lift them up with modern technology, with cranes, and guess what? All of the cranes completely failed. That's right. Supposedly, a culture which was maybe like more than 2,000 years, retarded compared to us. I mean, just imagine going 2,000 years in the past, you would be looking at a culture which is only working with iron, with copper, maybe with a bit of gold potentially. That's it. These people have the ability to make this ginormous, gigantic temple. I mean, come on, give me a break. But it gets even better. So after that, they said, okay, fair enough. They did not use modern technology like we would use. They used humans. So scientists came up with a theory on how many people would be required to just literally move this particular chunk of stone, this very perfectly cut 90 degrees stone, okay? Now, the cutting is a completely different story. I'm not going to get into that because the cutting is obviously, it's even more crazy, but just about moving this block. So there's two possibilities. Either you drag the block with obviously some sort of rope, or you move it from behind. But dragging a rock with a rope, the rope would break. There's no such rope in this world which could literally be used by humans. Now the problem is the following. They said that the amount of people required to move these gigantic stones, only to move them, not to lift them, would be 35,000 people at least, okay? 35,000 slaves, okay? Now just imagine how many of them would die out of obviously exhaustion, hard work, lack of food. It would be a cemetery of corpses over there, but funny enough, the temple in the surrounding area did not have any corpses. That is weird, isn't it? Now another problem is the following. This is only for effectively moving it. This is only for moving the blocks. This is not for lifting them up in any shape or form. So if you want to lift them up at 7 meters at least, how the heck are you going to do that? That is just crazy. Like the platform of wood which you want to make or whatever, I'm not sure, how would even withstand 1,200 tons, okay, when with modern technology right now it's physically impossible to move this stone, okay? You have to invest a ton of money to do this. Now, other people came up with an alternative option, which is, guess what? It's if we would have giants, how many giants we would be required to move these huge, humongous chunks of stone? It turns out we don't need that many. If a giant is about 10 meters, then you would only need approximately 500 to 1,000 giants. Only 500 to 1,000. Now, if the giants are more than 20 meters high, which is very possible during the Nephilim era, then suddenly these huge chunk of stones could be basically moved and lifted and played around with just less than 100 giants. So already looking at from 35,000 people, how do you even put 35,000 people around this rock? That's just physically impossible. That's like a stadium of people, okay? We went from there to only less than 100 giants if it would be 20 meters tall. Now, another weird thing is that around the area, there's an actual grotto which has basically lots of different sarcophaguses in underground, and they are literally more than 7 meters tall, but only authorized religious individuals can enter this place. Doesn't that sound to you like very suspicious? Why would only authorized religious individuals be able to enter a sacred place, which could potentially explain to us this very important concept? If we would be able to see the skeletons of those 7-meter high tombs, I mean, that's crazy, like tombs of 7-meter high, I would say, encasings of dead skeletons, or even more, at least 7 meters, right? And like I said before, only the authorized individuals from the specific religious authority is able to enter and perform rituals. This, guys, is clear for me that they're doing this because they don't want people to find out that actually, guess what? The giants, the Nephilim, made this amazing monument. That's right, there's no other alternative. I mean, pretty much this effectively, the math confirms by itself that it was physically impossible to be done by humans, okay? And it was physically possible, but not by humans, by giants. So when you have two things like this, when you have the impossible and the improbable becomes the possible. In this instance, the theory of the giants, which are more than 20 meters high, makes literally suddenly perfect sense, doesn't it? That's the thing, guys. Exactly, that's the problem. Now, here's another example of some very interesting stuff here. Also in the world, we have these very interesting balls, which are scattered around the world, and they're also very unique, very interesting. Now, some people say that these were actually the play toys of giants, like they would play with these stones when they were alive, and they would just throw them at each other or whatever. So this could also mean something quite interesting, right? Something quite unique. But anyway, that's just an afterthought, of course, with these stones. That's just one particular theory. It hasn't been proven whatsoever, like if these were used by giants. But the Baalbek temple, guys, I mean, it's pretty obvious, pretty clear. I don't know why they're not recognizing it in history books, because of course if they would have to write a whole history, but it's quite obvious that this was not built by humans, by Romans, or by anything. This was built by ancient Nephilim descendants, because otherwise there's just literally physically no explanation, guys. Give me a break. If you actually think that this monument, this gigantic, ginormous building, was built by slaves who were hungry, impoverished, had heat stroke, had very little energy, were abused, if you really think that was possible, then let me tell you something very important. You really need to decalcify your brain, because your brain is so calcified right now that you just cannot see the truth literally staring at your face. So guys, that's it for today's video. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I shall see you later in the next upload. And remember, the proof is literally in front of us. This, guys, is so obvious, it's so blatant obvious that it just makes me go, wow, why is humanity not waking up? What's wrong with humanity? Because humanity right now is more concerned with politically correct stuff and political agenda than the truth of this world. And this is why we are in the current situation and not much more advanced and much more knowledgeable of our past. So guys, that's it for today's video. I shall see you later in the next one. Bye.